What is going on, ladies and gentlemen? This is part two of my impressions on Spider-Man 2 here on the PlayStation 5. I just got done doing my part one, by the way, and I'm really loving this game. I know I previously mentioned that in my previous video, but this is going to be a little bit entirely different on part two here because I want to talk more about Miles Morales, even though I did talk about him a little bit in my part one. But it was more about part one was more about Peter Parker Spider Man in general in a certain type of way and concept and aspect. But here we are talking about Miles Morales. Miles Morales is a very unique Spider Man. He is very opposite that of Peter Parker Spider Man, obviously, because what I love about Miles Morales is that he's able to utilize a very interesting type of ability known as invisibility. That's one of his greatest abilities, in my personal opinion. But there's another ability called Venom Blast. It's kind of like of a electricity type of thing, but I really like it. It really does an amazing job of utilizing its area of effect, or AOE, quote unquote, and or in parentheses. But however, I love the way how Miles Morales Spider-Man and Peter Parker Spider-Man are very much different in their own type of regard. And when it comes to the combat mechanics in a certain way, even though that they are somewhat similar or maybe some differences in the mix as well. But that's where I think Miles Morales Spider-Man really does it differently in terms of the abilities that he has, as I previously mentioned, because I tend to repeat myself, so my apologies on that. But it's just that this is what I love about Spider-Man 2 as a whole, other than the first one, because what Spider-Man 2 really does amazingly well, actually magnificently, I might add, is that you're actually able to utilize Peter Parker Spider-Man and Miles Morales Spider-Man in a very different type of combination type of way. And what I mean by that, whenever you get into certain types of combat scenarios, especially when it comes to, trying to do multiple finishers, if you're playing as Miles Morales, you're actually able to utilize, the game is actually able to utilize Peter Parker Spider-Man to a certain type of degree or way to where he comes in and be able to come in into that combat fray and giving Miles Morales a much better ample time to a certain type of degree of finishing that type of combat finisher in the game. And I love that. It's the same thing as playing as Peter Parker Spider-Man. Excuse me. But that's what makes this game so differently from the first one, because in the first one, you really didn't have that. I think that's correct. I could be wrong. My apologies on that. But that's where I feel like that Spider-Man 2 just does so good in that combat scenario. I think it's fascinating, and that's why I like this game a little bit better than the first one. But overall, the first one was absolutely fucking amazing, and pardon my language, but it's to be expected because, normally when we get games that are part of an origin story, and then initially when we get sequels are not always going to be the best. But however, when it came to the Batman Arkham series, everyone thought that Arkham City of Batman was the best one of that Arkham series. But I will say I do highly agree with that 100%. But however, when it came to the Batman Arkham series, I really think that all three of them were fucking amazing. I loved all three of them, and very equally and superiorly, in my personal opinion. But I still loved Arkham City a lot better than the first one and Arkham Knight. But that's besides the point. But that's where I'm saying with Spider-Man 2, this game really, really utilizes its potential of its web slinging authenticity to a certain degree, and how it's much faster than from the first one. But that's where I'm saying it's like this game really utilizes its combat mechanics, and it's a little, I wouldn't say it's revamped, but it is a little bit more strategic in a way. I mean, it was like that in the first one as well. But I think that's where I feel like that when it came to Spider-Man 2, though, with its combat, it's it's really not much different from the first one. So I would just say I don't think it's. I'm not saying it's not the greatest. It's freaking amazing. I love it. And I love the combat systems when it comes to the Arkham series, or even from that of Middle Earth: Shadow of War or Shadow of Mordor. Those games kind of like utilize that some of that Batman Arkham series combat system as well scenario, much like from what Spider-Man 1 or Spider-Man 2 does as well. And I think it's duly noted that there is a little bit of that combat repetitiveness there, but however, it's still so much satisfying, and that's what I love about this game as well. And one thing I would really like to put in here is that I really think that when it comes to Spider-Man 2, this game does a much better job with its character progression than the first one. Like I said, I'm not saying that the first Spider-Man, it was initially for PS4, but then they actually ended up remastering it for PlayStation 5. But however, it's still the same game. That game was absolutely amazing in its own regard, because it was not just because it was unique in its own unique way, because you're playing a Spider-Man, for crying out loud. But that's where I'm saying with Spider-Man 2, though, you're playing two different Spider-Mans. And it's not just that, it's that you're able to utilize much newer mechanic known as the web glider. You're actually able to web glide in this game, whether if you play as Peter Parker Spider-Man or Miles Morales Spider-Man. And I love that mechanic. I love the fact that they did some different utilization of flight scenarios or web slinging scenarios, and it's awesome. I love that type of mechanic in this game, and it definitely works amazingly well. I'm thoroughly impressed of how far Insomniac has come when it comes to making these games for the generation of hardware that we have now, whether if you're on PlayStation 5 or on Xbox. But like I said before, this game is exclusive, and I'm not going to go into that type of detail because everyone would just think that, oh, you're nothing but a Sony fanboy. That's not true. It's not. But point being, Spider-Man 2 really utilizes the powerful uniqueness to the PlayStation 5. Because, even though I am still currently playing on a 1080p TV, it's a Samsung, by the way, if you must know, this game still looks absolutely amazing on a 1080p TV. It really does, because it's like, I mean, even though I do have enough money to get a 4K, but I'm not exactly sure when that's going to be, but I'm still working on that. But however, Spider-Man 2 still looks amazingly gorgeous on a 1080p TV. Bear that in mind, because usually when we have older TVs, much like a Samsung HD 1080p TV like I do, this game still looks absolutely amazing. And I know I'm repeating myself, so my apologies on that. But however, this game is absolutely amazingly gorgeous. I love the way how this game really provides its uniqueness of what it really should look like, especially when it comes to newer generational of hardware. And I really think that this game just does an amazing job with that. And so what I will say is that I think Spider-Man 2 I love the transition between Miles Morales and Peter Parker. I love that transition. I think the transition on that is pretty unique and somewhat flawless. But the only way to access that is it's like you have to swipe on your touchpad of your controller, and you have to press square in order to not initialize, but to enable to switch between Miles Morales and Peter Parker. But like I said, that transition is greatly. It works amazing. It actually works really, really well. So I love that. But what I will say is that with the combat, though, or even with the stealth in this game is actually quite more. I wouldn't say physicality. It's a little bit better than the first one, in my personal opinion. But what I'm saying is that it still works. And so I think that when it comes to Spider-Man 2, they did a lot of improvements in this game. This game is gorgeous. Like I said, it's gorgeous, but this game is huge. But one thing I will put in here, though, too, is that when you did the side activities in the first one, you had to do certain things in order to get almost like 100%. You know, like the synchronicity. You know, like you're able to do like an Assassin's Creed game. It's kind of like that in a way, but it's a little bit less forgiving, and I like that. But however, what's even more cool is that you're able to unlock certain types of suits that you can actually build in for Miles Morales or for Peter Parker, and I like that type of transition as well. That's a really cool mechanic. I like that, and I think if I stand correct, they actually were able to do that in the first one as well, and I'm really glad that they brought that back because what I will say, with all the gear of Spider-Man suits that you get in Spider-Man 2, they are so absolutely amazing. I love the color detail on all the suits that I've been getting so far, even for Peter Parker or for Miles Morales. And so, what I will say, I think Insomniac just did an amazing job on that, though. Too, I really love the color intricacies and its design on Miles Morales or on Peter Parker, and I just think that they did, like I said, they did it awesome. That's one thing I will say. But in turn here, I really think Spider-Man 2, I wouldn't say it's flawless, but to me, I feel like it's a masterpiece, even though I still have not finished this game yet, but I think I'm getting pretty close, but I could be wrong on that. But this game is kind of quite long because I got this game on the 26th of October, and it's like, what, November 9th now? So I've had it for a good solid couple of weeks, but I'm taking my time on this game. I really am. I like to take time on my games because it's like I don't normally always like to blast through because I want to enjoy my time with games like this. So, in final note, Spider-Man 2 is a must play. I really thoroughly enjoy this game so far. I want to know more about this game and see what this game is going to do in terms of its story. But anyways, any comments or questions, please feel free to put them in the comment section below. Be more than happy to reply back if and whenever possible. And you guys have a good rest of your week. I'll chat at you guys later. Peace.